Hello, this is Mr. Hornsby 83. This is the Mr. Hornsby 83 show, and today I'm going to be doing my review of Deadpool and Wolverine. Overall, I enjoyed the movie. I really had fun with it. I'm going to talk about, the main thing I'm going to talk about is some of the cameos. I'm going to talk about my thoughts on some of the story points. I'm going to talk about, what this could mean for the future of Marvel movies and that in general. And, etc., etc. Also going to be making an announcement at the end of the video. But anyway. So let's get into Deadpool and Wolverine. And like I said, I really enjoyed this movie. This movie was a really good movie. It was really funny. Had a lot of action in it. The cameos were just hilarious. And I'll be honest with you. This and Deadpool 2 are like probably the two best out of the Deadpool movies. Yeah, the first one was good and all that. And I know a lot of other people preferred the first one over the other two. But I think 2 and the Deadpool and Wolverine were pretty good. And it was great to see Hugh Jackman back. And, as Wolverine. Last time we seen Hugh Jackman as Wolverine was 2017. Then prior to that, he was in like X-Men Apocalypse, which that movie was completely criticized, which I still maintain I think X-Men Apocalypse is better than people give it credit for. And even though I'm talking about Deadpool, I got Batman shirt on. Let's get into some of the plot point. Let's get into, before I start talking about all the spoilers and that, I want to point out that yes, this movie was definitely a tribute to the Fox movie universe and all the other Marvel movies that came out before, the MCU and all that happened. Like, we have tributes to Blade, we have tribute, which was made by Warner Brothers. We had tributes to Daredevil, which, I was hoping to see Ben Affleck's Daredevil, but we really didn't get to see him, and I'll talk about that more when I get to all the cameos. Because I'm going to talk a lot about the cameos. I'm not going to break down the movie, talk about the story, action, and all that. I'm going to talk about all the cameos, and then I'll give my thoughts on the movie overall at the end of after I talk about all that. But this was a good farewell to the Fox movie universe, which is mainly the X-Men movies. I think the Spider-Man movies might have been. No, Spider-Man movies weren't. They're made by Columbia Pictures, which is Sony. The Fantastic Four, they gave a tribute to that. They gave a tribute to most of the X-Men movies. So it was pretty much a tribute and a love letter to the movies from Fox. There's even a point where, in the, I believe it's the second fight with Wolverine and Deadpool. No, actually, I think it's the first. In the first fight where Wolverine throws him by 20th Century Fox sign and, Deadpool gets up and says, "Rest in peace." Anyway, so now let's get into, I'm going to talk about the opening sequence and then I'll get into the cameos. So the opening sequence, and I never thought I would equate this song to something I would enjoy. Because the opening sequence starts out and we got we got Deadpool taking on the TVA to Bye 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 by NSYNC. And I am not a fan of NSYNC. I am not a fan of Bye Bye Bye. They also did a tribute to something else later on in the movie, of a movie I hate because I'm not a big fan of these types of movies. And I'm not a big fan of one of the actors that's in these movies. But the funniest thing is, while he's fighting these guys, and then they keep showing the credits at Deadpool. I don't know if it was Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool doing keeping up with the dance moves, or if it was the stunt coordinator. But they were keeping up pretty well with the dance moves that went to that song Bye Bye Bye. So that was hilarious. I never thought I would enjoy hearing Bye 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 ever. And Deadpool and Wolverine actually made me like Bye Bye Bye. Just for that sequence, because now every time I hear that stupid song, I'm going to be thinking about Ryan Reynolds or a stuntman dancing in a Deadpool suit to Bye Bye Bye. You see my beautiful wife coming in again. At least this time she's not in her pajamas. But yeah, I never thought I would ever enjoy Bye Bye Bye. I mean, seriously. You know, I always hated that song. I hated that group. And I'm not a big fan of boy bands in general. Because I'm a man. No. Anyway, so let's get into all the cameos when frickin' Deadpool is trying to find an anchor Wolverine. So we get Patch. And then after Patch, this one I didn't know about. I knew about Patch. I knew about the Henry Cavill Wolverine and that because I had watched some, news leaks and all that stuff. I knew about Patch. I knew about Henry Cavill Wolverine and all that stuff. But I did not expect to see Age of Apocalypse Wolverine. And the way it looked, I can't wait to see that movie come in live action. Whenever they do it, hopefully they do it soon with the X-Men movies that they're doing. But, and then, we've seen the Henry Cavill Wolverine and he thinks it's a Hugh Jackman Wolverine and it's not. We also, one of the funniest parts is where we get comic accurate size Wolverine. I mean, it's funny. Now, it wasn't totally comic accurate because I think he was a little shorter than what he really was. He almost looked like a little person. Wolverine was a little bit taller than that in the comics. Almost, Hugh Jackman's face on the freaking thing was just so funny. It's just, they CGI his face on it and it's just freaking hilarious. He's like, oh, aren't you such a cute, Deadpool just, aren't you such a cute little guy? Also, there was two villains in this show. We had Mr. Paradox and we had Cassandra Nova. So both of them were the villains, and really it's crazy because Paradox tells Deadpool his timeline is collapsing because of the fact that their anchor died, which was Wolverine, Logan, whatever you want to call him, and Deadpool's like, well, can't I just find another anchor? He's like, no, it don't work like that. But he's talking about how it's died of slow death, and he's like, well, that's not slow enough. I want to kill your world as soon as I possibly can. That sounds like something, you hear from, like, Kevin Feige. Like, I want to kill the Fox universe as quick as I possibly can. That's what it seemed like. But Deadpool, like I said, goes through the time. He's trying to find a different Wolverine. And he finally finds the Wolverine he's looking for. When he finds him, we get the part we see in the trailer, but then there's a part where as he's trying to take Wolverine out, Wolverine falls down. He's pulling up his shirt and he sees the costume underneath. He's like, oh, look, this is a costume. And he also makes a crack about, finally, someone that doesn't act like they're embarrassed to be in a superhero movie. So he says, this is my Wolverine. Because and he also says, well, it only took 20 years for that costume. And then he gets Wolverine. They go back to the Mr. Paradox. He says, here you go. Here's our new anchor. And then, Paradox tells him about how this is the worst Wolverine he could have got. And Deadpool, having hope, finds a way to turn this Wolverine into a better Wolverine. Which, by the way, the story, which I'm glad they went with, because a lot of people were predicting before this movie came out, people were predicting, it's probably X-Men 97 Wolverine, because he's going to keep trying to go back in time to stop the Genosha incident. Which, really, the prediction made no sense to me at all. A lot of people were predicting this, but it made no sense to me at all, because Cable and frickin' Bishop are the time travelers in the X-Men cartoon. Established in the old cartoon. It's established. Yeah, there was the Days of Future Past episode where Wolverine was going to try to go back in time. And in Days of Future Past, the movie, it was Wolverine that went back in time, but that's because, Kitty Pryde had another hidden power where she could send Wolverine's conscience back in time to a younger version of himself. So, I'm glad that prediction wasn't what it was. What it was is, one night Wolverine went out drinking. I guess he got into a fight with Cyclops, got pissed off at somebody at the expansion. Went out to take a drink. Comes back and all the X-Men were dead. And Wolverine kills humans. The humans that killed the X-Men, and he killed humans that had nothing to do with the X-Men dying. So Wolverine, and I guess you could kind of say it's kind of the X-Men 97 Wolverine, because in X-Men 97, Wolverine's a lot more darker and more willing to kill in X-Men 97 than he was in even in the original cartoon, Evolution, or even Wolverine in the X-Men. This dude, when Rogue dropped Boulevard Trask in episode 7 of X-Men 97, Nightcrawler's like, "What have you done, Rogue?" And Wolverine's like, "What we've all been wanting to do for a while, bub." And then, then Morph said, "Oh, is this who we are now?" Not only that, you look at episode 9, Wolverine stabs Magneto in the chest looking to kill Magneto. And people are speculating that Wolverine is going to be one of the Horsemen of Apocalypse in the next season, which probably makes sense. He probably will be. But, so maybe this was that Wolverine and he just got fed up. When the humans finally killed the X-Men, he said, "Fuck it, I'm killing all these motherfuckers. I don't care if they're good guys, they're bad guys, or in between." And even some of the other humans they did trust ended up becoming Prime Sentinels. They were secretly bigots. Even freaking the Valerie Cooper lady, who was supposed to be sympathetic to the X-Men and the mutants, ended up working for Bastion. So maybe it is X-Men 97 Wolverine. Who knows? I doubt it is. I even made a prediction that it was going to be Wolverine and the X-Men Wolverine because, I just came off watching Wolverine and the X-Men, and Wolverine did kind of screw up his future in the Days of Future Past timeline because he didn't trust Emma Frost. So, yeah. But I'm glad it wasn't freaking because of the Genosha thing, which, when I do an X-Men video next year, I'm going to talk about how X-Men 97 Season 1 borrowed a lot from Wolverine and the X-Men. Which, that'll be X-Men month next year. That's something I'll have up for next month. So then, Paradox also tells Deadpool he only has 72 hours to make his decision to join the Avengers or not, because it starts out with, Deadpool telling the backstory of where he's at, the situation as he is. Another thing that was funny about this is that it's also in the opening sequence where Deadpool says, even though we said we weren't going to disrespect what they did in Logan, we're totally going to disrespect what we did in Logan. So Deadpool digs up Wolverine's body, and while he's fighting the TVA guys, he's using Wolverine's body to beat up on them. Before that, he was sitting there talking to the skeleton Wolverine, and he's like, he did the Australia voice that sounded like the freaking Wolverine from one of the episodes of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and the freaking Pride of the X-Men X-Men cartoon, which was a pilot for X-Men the Animated Series. But he said they're talking to it, and he does the voice. He's like, that Marvel money got me out of the thing. And he said something about bloke or something. He also did the Will Smith, "Take my wife's name out your motherfucking mouth," when he smacked her right. Because he friggin', but instead, he says, "Take my motherfucking country's name out your motherfucking mouth." I thought that was so funny. And I just did a skit on that in one of my videos. I think it was last week I did a skit. Yeah, because I was talking about my freaking Lady J figures. I said, I made one of them G.I. Jane. But anyway, that's how the Will Smith smack happened, because he made a joke about Jada Pickett's, G.I. Jane 2. So yeah, anyway. So then they go to the Void, and they take all they meet the Human Torch when, Sandra Noble's people are coming. You got Toad, you got Ray Park, you got Toad, Tyler Mane back, and Sabretooth, which I was very excited for, and I was hoping Sabretooth would have been in this movie even more. But apparently, supposedly, it was supposed to be the guy who played Juggernaut in Last Stand, but I guess he got replaced. And I think they replaced the Azazel and maybe Lady Deathstrike's actors. But, so we didn't see the actual original actors who played them. And I thought the dude who played Azazel looked pretty cool. But, yeah, So then, Deadpool and Wolverine, after freaking Deadpool kills, after Wolverine kills Sabretooth, and this was after the first fight between Wolverine and Deadpool, because they have like 2, maybe 3 fights. After the freaking first fight, they show up, and Sabretooth and all of them show up, and he's ready to fight Wolverine. He's like, I know you! And he jumps down, they're getting ready to fight. Wolverine, he's ready to fight, but he had some Deadpool swords in, so Deadpool takes all the swords out. He's like, people's been waiting over a decade for accurate comic Wolverine versus Sabretooth. And it ends just like that. They're running at each other, Wolverine slices, and he cut off the head. Which is a point they kept making to bring up in the freaking X-Men Origin Wolverine movie, that he was going to slice off Sabretooth's head. Also, Deadpool says, oh, your brother Sabretooth. Yeah, so sucks, but hey, at least we got Tyler Mane Sabretooth, who I liked a lot better than Liv. I like Liv Shriver. He looked pretty intimidating as Sabretooth in that, but he didn't wear any of the makeup or any of that. And he didn't wear something that, he wasn't as big and as menacing looking as Sabretooth as freaking Tyler Mane was. But he did do better acting as Sabretooth in X-Men Origins Wolverine, so. Yeah, he was a better actor as Sabretooth, but he wasn't he looked a little scary, but he didn't look as scary as Sabretooth from the first X-Men movie, is pretty much what I'm saying. So then we get them getting away from Cassandra Nova, and then after Deadpool got the Human Torch killed. Because after he kills Sabretooth, then the other guys just put out a magnet that captures Wolverine and Deadpool because they have metal on them. Well, Wolverine's body's made of metal, so yeah. And they take her to Cassandra Nova. She's, gonna feed them to Alioth, but they get away. But before that, Johnny Storm tries to frickin' save him, and he gets taken down by Pyro because Pyro takes his frickin' takes his flames away. I don't know how that works, but he took his flames away. At least Pyro was played by the same actor who played him in the original trilogy. So yeah, we didn't see Pyro in the First Class trilogy. Well, First Class had 4 movies, so we didn't see him in the First Class saga. But we did see him in the original trilogy. So then Wolverine and Deadpool meet Nicepool, and they meet that Dogpool and all that. Deadpool just instantly in love with Dogpool. And then, Nicepool gives them their vehicle. They're looking for the border to find the rebels because, Human Torch told them about there were some rebels left. And then, after their second fight, where Wolverine tapes, wraps up Deadpool in some seatbelts while they're fighting. Wolverine had said a lot of terrible things to Deadpool, and there was a lot of serious Deadpool in this movie. I gotta say, usually Deadpool's more of a joking guy, even in the intense scenes like he was in the first 2 movies. But when Wolverine said all that, Deadpool got quiet for a minute and he said, I'm gonna fight you now. So they start fighting, they hit the radio, and you hear The One That I Want from one of the most hated movies in my life. I hate this movie with a passion. I'm always gonna hate it. I never will like this movie. Was Grease. And the funny thing is, while they're fighting, they pan away from them inside the vehicle fighting, and you see the thing going up and down like they're making love. That's pretty funny, but they're really just fighting while One That I Want is playing. It was just super funny, and I never thought I would enjoy The One That I Want either. So this movie made me enjoy Bye 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 and freaking One That I Want from Grease, which is one of the movies I hate. And I'll never love Grease. People can say what they want, and I've never been a big John Travolta fan. I've never liked John Travolta. And people freaking, especially people like my biological father gets mad because I don't like John Travolta. Well, you know what? I did like John Travolta in freaking Punisher. And I thought he was a weak villain. He was like too sissified to play a tough mafia boss. But anyway, the thing I like about that is, Frank Castle kills him at the end. So I was like, yes, kill him again. Why did they shoot him and kill him? He blew him up with a bunch of cars. I was like, yes. That's how much I don't like Transformers. Well, I'm rooting for one of his characters to get killed in the most gruesome, brutal way. That's probably another reason why I like Carrie so much, because he gets killed in a brutal, gruesome way in that too. So, yeah. And despite the fact I like the Look Who Talking movies, I don't like John Travolta. But anyway. So then Laura finds them and takes them to the border where they can find the rebels, which you had Elektra from 2003 Daredevil and the Elektra movie that came out 3 years after that, which both of those movies got credit. And I liked the Daredevil movie. I thought the Daredevil movie was good. And I liked Marco Clark Duncan as Kingpin, Wilson Fisk. The first live action Kingpin we got was, I forgot the guy's name now. Oh yeah, Michael Clark Duncan was the first ever Kingpin, live action. It's a shame he passed away. Maybe if he was still alive, they might have had him do a cameo in this. He could have fought Elektra. Then we see Gambit, played by Channing Tatum, which he stole the show pretty much throughout this. Especially with the gibberish freaking accent he was using. Deadpool's hounding him about, exposition. We might have missed some exposition because your bad accent. Which was pretty funny. Then we see the man, Blade. Oh man, boy did I mark out when I see Wesley Snipes back as Blade. I'm like, yes, Blade, that's the true Blade. And even Wesley Snipes said it himself later in the movie. He's the real true blue Blade. And with the freaking current MCU Blade movie in developmental hell, because the actor's given, I guess the actor's being a diva or whatever, or Marvel ain't doing the Blade movie right or whatever. But seeing Wesley Snipes back as Blade, just and then the part where he tells Deadpool he don't like him, he's like, you always never liked me or something like that. Puts his head down like also calling back the Blade Trinity where freaking him and Ryan Reynolds star together. Which I said Ryan Reynolds was one of the worst parts of that movie. I mean, I know he was there for comedy relief and that. And then the second worst would probably be Triple H. As much as I was a fan of Triple H as a wrestler, boy, and in Blade Trinity, that was the only job he did in 2004 outside of jobbing to Chris Benoit. In 2004. Those were the only two jobs. He jobbed out to Ryan Reynolds today, jobbed out to frickin' Chris Benoit. But other than that, he didn't job out to nobody else. But I was happy to see that interaction with Blade. Even though Deadpool's a different character than frickin' what Ryan Reynolds was supposed to be Hannibal Cain or whatever, I was just marking out. And then the infight was pretty good. And, Wolverine realizes he could be a hero again. Also, the talk between Wolverine and Laura was pretty good. Which, by the way, the girl who played Laura, X-23, was denying that she was in it up until the trailer came out. That showed her in it. And I thought maybe it was just going to be a flashback thing, but it really was her. And she was really part of the movie. So they take Cassandra Nova, they're going to cover her head with the Juggernaut helmet to take away her powers. But, also Paradox wants, Cassandra Nova killed. So, Pyro was working for Paradox, and Paradox said, I'll send you back to your own time and take you out of Void if you kill Cassandra Nova. So she almost dies, but Wolverine tells Deadpool to take the helmet off of her, And that's where we found out Wolverine's backstory and why they said he was the worst Wolverine. Because he pretty much ruined the X-Men's legacy. Everything the X-Men was trying to do, after they died, he ruined their legacy. And the respect the X-Men had earned by killing humans. Even when they weren't doing bad things to mutants and they were like maybe sympathetic to mutants, he still killed them. So he kind of went into X-Men 97 territory there. But anyway, so Cassandra Nova lets them escape back to their own world so they can stop Paradox from destroying Wade's world. But then she decides to come, and she wants to destroy every world except for the Void. So Deadpool and them try to stop him. And this is where we get all the different Deadpool variants, which I thought was pretty funny earlier when they're talking to Nicepool and he's talking about all the other variants that's in that Void. And they all come out. They're going to fight. The one common denominator between all of them is that they love Peter. They love Peter, who came in the original in Deadpool 2 when he signed up to be a part of X-Force. So they all come out, and earlier in the thing, you know, even though Nicepool was talking about the freaking other Deadpools, he said, well, Lady Deadpool's pretty hot, though. And, you know, I was hoping that when, because the first Deadpool that came out was Lady Deadpool, I was hoping, you know, Ryan Reynolds, like, the prime Deadpool would have said, well, you know, you were right. You were right, Nicepool. Lady Deadpool is pretty hot. I was hoping for them to do that. That would have been a perfect time to do a joke, but they didn't. You know, especially with the fact that Vanessa and Wade were split up in this, and Vanessa even said she had a new boyfriend, or a new guy she was talking to. You know, that would have been a perfect opportunity for him to say, oh yeah, Lady Deadpool is hot. And we never got that. What we did get was poor freaking Nicepool getting killed by being used by a shield by Deadpool, by Wade, and he thought, you know, this Deadpool has regenerative full powers, and he really doesn't. So he's like, oh crap, we're gonna heal you. Hot dog stand. He was gonna take him to the hot dog stand because he saw something that said, this could heal you. This will give you your regenerative power. And he says, oh, you're gonna survive. You're gonna survive. His head gets shot off. So he's responsible for 2 deaths in this movie. He's responsible for Johnny Storm's death because he tells Cassandra Nova that, you know, Johnny Storm talked a bunch of trash about her on the way there, so she just rips him apart. And then he causes Nicepool to die. I think he did it intentionally so he can get Dogpool. So when they fight through, we finally get Wolverine putting on the mask, and they fight through all the freaking Deadpools, and they think they beat him and killed him when they really didn't, because they all can regenerate. It was even funny. Deadpool's like, oh, so these ones have regenerative powers, but you know the other one didn't. Okay, great. And then Peter comes in the Deadpool suit. You know, something earlier in the movie, him and freaking Deadpool were talking because he was working at the same car dealership with him. And Peter is comes in the Deadpool suit. He tells them to calm down and stop and all that. He takes off the mask and they're all like, Peter! So that causes them to go back to the Void because they're like, all right, cool. And then we get Deadpool and Wolverine talking to Paradox. Talks about how Cassandra Nova's going to destroy it, and there's one way to save it, but Deadpool or Wolverine might not survive. And they both were willing to sacrifice themselves, but in the end, they both ended up teaming up to take that thing down and kill Cassandra Nova, and then still survived. And now Wolverine's in this timeline where he lost his anchor. And man, hopefully Wolverine doesn't kill no humans in this. And you know, one thing I was hoping for when this movie was announced, I was hoping to see an interaction with Wolverine and Colossus. We kind of get it at the end because all the people, you know, that Deadpool cares about gets to stay alive and all that. One thing that was missing was Deadpool's best friend for the first 2 movies, the guy that played Robbie in Gravity Falls. He was not in this one. But it was shocking that he wasn't in this. Because he's was the main bestie of Deadpool for the first 2 movies. And they didn't have him in this one. So we see Wolverine kind of interacting with Colossus. I would have liked to see, you know, some other interaction where they talk and he's like, wait a minute, you're Colossus? What happened to the Colossus I know? Or something like that. Like Wolverine just, You're not the Colossus I know. Yeah, but then again, this Wolverine's from a different timeline too, so yeah. Anyway, overall, I enjoyed the movie. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. If a movie could make me enjoy Bye 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 by NSYNC, and it can make me enjoy the one that I want from Grease, which I hate that movie. Then I thought it was a pretty good movie. At the end, Deadpool talks to Vanessa. He says, "I did it all for you." And it seems like they're back together, so we'll see. It looks like there's going to be Deadpool 4. But, the end credit, which was like way after the credits, while the credits were going, they were showing tributes to all the Fox X-Men movies that came out over the years. And Fantastic Four. Both Fantastic Four movies, which I liked both of them. I thought the first one was better than Rise of the Silver Surfer. One, because I didn't like how Galactus looked at two, but it just was too wacky in part two. But I did like the first Fox Fantastic Four movie. I didn't watch the one that came after that with frickin' Michael B. Jordan and all that. I just thought that one was going to be dumb, so I didn't watch it. But overall, I really liked this movie. Really good movie. I enjoyed all the cameos. We saw freaking Henry Cavill as Wolverine, and Deadpool says, "Don't worry, we're not going to treat you like those dirtbags down the road," talking about DC and how they handled the whole Superman situation. Which, I wanted to see Henry Cavill come back as Superman. I honestly did. And the fact that they totally debacled it now. There was a chance of it last year, and then it got debacled in the same year, so. And I liked Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. If critics and fans wouldn't have been so harsh on those movies, maybe we'd still have Henry Cavill as Superman. But they had to be harsh on the movies, and then, I don't know. So, anyway, that just irritated me with that nonsense that they freaking just... The whole situation was awful. And like I said, if people treated Superman, Man of Steel, and freaking Batman v Superman better, we would have got another Henry Cavill Superman movie. Last time we seen him in a Superman was the end credit of Black Adam. And then that was it. Which Black Adam ain't going nowhere now either because, DC screwed up things with Dwayne Johnson as well to bring in James Gunn. But overall, I love Deadpool and Wolverine. Probably my favorite out of the three movies. I did like 2 would have been my favorite prior to this, but this one I think is my favorite now. Just because we get Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. The end credit was also funny too, because like everything Deadpool told Cassandra Nova was true. Because there was a running gag where, it was Deadpool's fault that Johnny got killed because Johnny was innocent. When he really wasn't, because they show all the shit talking he was doing about Cassandra Nova on there. And Deadpool's like, and then he said, "Got you, douche." And walks off. That was funny, man, I'll tell you. But yeah, this movie was really good. It gives me hope. Also, they made fun of a lot of recent stuff Marvel's been doing with the multiverse stuff and that at the end of the movie as well. That was pretty funny. Some of the jokes were a little, forced, like when, Deadpool, when all the other Deadpools are excited about Peter. And, Deadpool's like, "Enjoy my Peter." But, yeah, I love it. I'm glad Hugh Jackman's going to be back for at least a few more movies as Wolverine. Because I believe him and Deadpool's going to be a big part in the next 2 Avengers movies. So I'm very happy we got Hugh Jackman back. I really enjoyed this movie. I was worried. Another thing too is when Deadpool 2 came out, I really couldn't enjoy it because that was the year my mom died. 2018, so I was so depressed I didn't enjoy it, but on rewatches I enjoyed it. On rewatches throughout the past few years after the year my mom passed. That was also the year I started my Trigen Toys business, which, by the way, I did pretty well at the world's longest yard sale this past Saturday, so we did pretty well. But Yeah, I didn't enjoy it when I initially went and seen it, but I did enjoy it more as I watched it on rewatches on TV and all that stuff. So, but my two favorite, I think two's good. I love it because I'm a big fan of Cable, and I definitely love this one because I'm a big, humongous fan of Wolverine, and I enjoyed Hugh Jackman's run as Wolverine, even if he didn't have the original suit. We also did see a brown suited version of Wolverine where he's fighting the Hulk. But that was only a brief cameo, and we don't know which version of the Hulk it was, whether it was Mark Ruffalo's or Edward Norton's or frickin' Eric Bana's. So, yeah, but anyway. I give this movie a 4 out of 5. This movie was really good. I really enjoyed it. Gives me hope for Marvel movies in the future, and I cannot wait to see where they go from here with the Marvel movies and the Deadpool movies. But anyway, that'll do it. Oh yeah, the announcement. Now, I talked about it on my playthrough. I talked about it on most of my videos last week. My playthrough of Mortal Kombat Mythology. But I'm going to be doing a wrestling figure event. And I was just going to do the main event, which is going to be Bret Hart and Goldberg for the WCW United States Championship and WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Well, I'm also going to add one more match to it, and I'll have a couple interviews during that show too, and that's going to be on Halloween, or, you know, probably the Friday or something before Halloween. But I'm also going to add a triple threat match between Triple H, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I'll explain how those things go when I get closer to doing those videos and how the storylines played out when I get closer to doing those videos. And if that does well around Halloween time, I'll probably do a few more where I'll do like maybe 2 matches, maybe 3 matches. But yeah, I'm going to have 2 matches instead of just the one. So, yeah. And that'll be my Halloween special. Halloween Figure Havoc. Which was going to be my final wrestling figure event on Facebook for the year. Because I had one planned before that too. And I was getting ready to gear up for it when Facebook did the stuff of, I got to have 100 followers to do lives now. That was so stupid. But anyway, that'll do it. Please like this video, leave a comment, subscribe for more. Let me know what you guys thought of Deadpool Wolverine. What's your favorite Deadpool movie? Do you have hope for the MCU after this movie? And, you know, let me know all that in the comments below. Catch you guys later. Peace out.